Hi, Nicola Spurling here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking TikTok. I have been on TikTok for a little while, not a huge amount of time, but I have some feelings because I am on the LGBTQ2+ part of TikTok, and it's a whole other world out there, so I've got some thoughts to share, and let's get right into it. Lesbian TikTok. This is the first thing I discovered. Now, there's a lot of young folks on here. I am someone who's almost 30, and I am definitely on the older end of the spectrum of people that are on TikTok, but it's been really incredible to see all of these young folks being able to express themselves the way that they want to, and just feeling so comfortable, it seems, in who they are. I know that a lot of people still go through very difficult experiences in coming out, but it really does seem like the next generation is having things a lot better than our generation, and our generation obviously had things better than the generation before us. So that's really exciting to see. And I just love how comfortable people seem to be in their own skin. The other aspect of TikTok that I find really interesting is similar to YouTube, there are transition timeline videos, but they're much shorter, and I've put a few together myself. If you're interested, I am at Spurling. That's my handle across all of my social media platforms. So check me out on TikTok, and you can find all of this content that I put on YouTube, but in very condensed versions. And I also do lots of other things on there. I just like to have fun with it. It's not the same kind of platform that I have on YouTube where I'm trying to put a lot of information out into the world and try to educate people. I do a little bit of that on TikTok, but I'm also just having a good time, and I think that's what it's all about. I think that's what a lot of people on TikTok are doing. I think that in a lot of ways, TikTok allows me to be a little bit more of who I actually am. You see me on these videos acting in sort of a more professional way, I suppose. Like, I'll make the occasional joke here or there. It's not a super professional platform that I have, but I am very careful in what I say, and I'm very careful in what I do, and I make sure that the majority of the content that I'm putting out is educational content. When I'm on TikTok, I can sort of have more fun. I can joke around a little bit more. I'm starting to bring that side of myself into social media because it's a side of myself that I think I just always want to be viewed as professional, so I don't bring that side out as often. But the reality is you can't just be professional all the time, and when you're showing your fun-loving side and you're showing your funny side, people aren't going to think less of you for it, and that's a lesson that I'm learning, and something that is being facilitated by being on TikTok and having the ability to make these sort of short, entertaining videos that really just allow you to express your personality a lot better than you're able to do in a longer format video where you're trying to stick to a topic. One of the really interesting things I've noticed on TikTok is that people seem to be using it as a way of dating, and I guess it's because the way that TikTok's algorithm works, and I don't understand the algorithm at all, let's just be clear about that, but one of the ways that it does seem to work is that it promotes people that live near you. I know that on my For You page I get a lot of content around Vancouver, whether that's scenery or things that are happening in the area. There seems to be a lot of Vancouver-based content, and for an international app, that's really interesting to see. I also know that some videos do really well and some don't, and they could be very, very similar, or you could repost the same video and once it does well and the other time it flops. So unlike YouTube, where I have some sense of how the algorithm works, even if I don't have a complete handle on it, with TikTok, I have absolutely no clue how it works. But what I find interesting about the fact that it's so local is that people can then use it to try to hook up with other people, or maybe hook up's the wrong word, maybe they're looking for an actual partner long term, but put themselves out there. Then you have this video, which you wouldn't normally have on a dating app. You've got a video of yourself, and you're talking about all the things you're interested in, or you're pointing at words on the screen, or whatever it might be, to really give people a sense of who you are. And I wonder how well that's going to work. I mean, how many people are actually meeting folks on TikTok, and the fact that there's sort of this whole queer area of TikTok, and it's so big and everyone seems to know about it, it's so prominent. I wonder if it's really opening doors for a lot of people to be able to meet up, or maybe it's just a matter of hoping for the best but not really seeing a lot of interaction, especially for the smaller creators who aren't getting the same kind of reach as some of these other folks who are queer and able to put out these videos and have tons of people hitting on them. Maybe that's what they're looking for, maybe it's not, but they're able to capitalize on this system to potentially market themselves, and it's a weird way to put it, but they're essentially marketing themselves as single and as desirable people. And And I wonder if that is going to make people seem more down to earth and more real, or whether it's going to be similar to Instagram or a dating app where people just put on this image of themselves that's so unlike who they are actually in person. But I think that's something really interesting that's come out of TikTok. I just wanted to bring up all of these thoughts that I had, maybe get your input if you want to leave some information in the comments about how TikTok's algorithm works or how people meet on TikTok, or if you use it and you're enjoying it, what kind of queer content you like. Maybe drop your favorite creators down below. I'd love to figure out how this works. I'd love to figure out who to follow, and it's just an all-around interesting thing to be able to jump into an app early. I tried getting into it actually when it was really early and the platform just was not usable at the time, or at least in my mind it just didn't work well. So I set it aside and didn't touch it for a while, and I heard people starting to talk about using TikTok for a while, and I just went, well, I don't want to go back to that. I remember how awful the user experience was. And when I finally did go back and check it out, the user experience had completely changed, and it was so much easier to navigate, to create videos, to post videos, to view videos. It all made much more sense, and that's when I could finally get into it. So I guess I'm a little late adopting it, but it's because I tried adopting it too early, maybe. But anyways, if you can teach an old person some new tricks and let me know how you're navigating TikTok and what you're using it for, that would be super helpful for me. So coming back around to lesbian TikTok, which is what I talked about originally, I find it super interesting because I'm someone that identifies as pansexual. In some contexts, I might identify as bisexual if I think a person isn't going to understand what it means to be pansexual. And sometimes I'll also identify as a lesbian, and the reason for that is I'm mostly attracted to women, and sometimes it's just easier than having a whole conversation about my identity and whether or not I'm attracted to a person. I can just say I'm a lesbian, I'm interested in women. And that's what I do when I'm on certain dating apps or when I'm on TikTok sometimes. I identify a lot with the lesbian communities because I'm involved in lesbian soccer teams. Like I said, I'm interested mostly in women, and that whole community just seems like something that I can connect with. That's a connection that I feel has gotten a lot deeper now that I've been using TikTok, because I've been able to go onto this whole lesbian side of TikTok and see how people are interacting with each other and see what I've missed out on, because as a trans person, I didn't grow up figuring out that I was a lesbian. I didn't get those kinds of connections until later on in my life, and I know that's the case for a lot of lesbian folks as well. But I had to come to terms with being trans before I can even deal with my sexual orientation. So I'm still in the process of navigating my sexual orientation. I know who I like and who I don't like, but I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like in terms of relationships. Basically, I feel like I am very early on in discovering my sexual orientation and discovering the dating scene, because it's just like a whole new ball game for me. So that's something that I'm exploring on TikTok, and I find it fascinating. So for me, it's definitely a time-consuming thing in terms of just getting sucked into it and flicking away, but that sounded wrong. I spend a lot of time that I shouldn't scrolling through my For You page or my people I'm following, and I do genuinely find it entertaining, but I also find it very educational at times as well, because it's almost like I can connect with this piece of my life that I was never really able to experience. Now, seeing how popular lesbian TikTok has become, and it seems like everyone knows about it, everyone knows about gay TikTok, lesbian TikTok, there seem to be so many queer folks on TikTok, and that's really cool. But I think it would be really cool to have a trans TikTok as well. And like I said before, there are trans creators, but it's just not talked about all that much. And I do want to see people just living their lives without having to focus on the fact that they're trans, because I think that's ultimately what our goal is. It's to achieve a point where we don't have to advocate for ourselves as much, where we can just live our lives as we want to live our lives and not have to focus so much on politics and gender identity and education and all of these pieces that right now consume so many trans people, because we have this sort of focus on us and all these people that are hating on us. But I would also love to see a platform where we can celebrate the fact that we're trans, and where folks can come together and have basically what this lesbian community on TikTok has, or what the gay community on TikTok has, but for trans folks. And again, I mentioned this earlier in the video. If you have suggestions for people to follow, let me know your trans suggestions, because that's something I would really be interested in following, and maybe seeing if that community does exist and I'm just not tapped into it, or maybe seeing if there's a way to grow that community, and me as someone with like like 350 followers, I'm not going to be the one to grow it. But, you know, all of you and everyone else out there who just want to be able to see ourselves represented in these social media apps, I think it would be beneficial for us to get on there and to create that space and also to find that space. So this is a bit of a rambly video. I have no idea how I'm going to cut it all together. I have no idea what this is going to look like when it's all done, but I appreciate you sticking with me for it. I really wanted to have this conversation. I really wanted to talk TikTok. I want to keep this conversation going. So please, please, please drop your comments down below. I want to chat with you about this. And like I said, go follow me on TikTok at Nikki Spurling. If you enjoy this kind of content, please hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, please hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit the bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. And until next time, have a great day.